evening, everyone. The May 12th, 2022 Wacom County Planning Commission is called to order. I'll call the roll. Please tell me if you're here. Robert Bartell.
Here.
Kelvin Barton, that's me. I'm here. Atul Deshmani.
Here.
Jim Hansen.
Yes. Here.
Jackson. Stephen Jackson. Okay. Julie Jefferson. Kimberly Lund.
Here.
Dominic Masseri.
Here.
Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
All right. Please join me in the flag salute, and Tammy will bring the flag up on the screen so all participants can see it. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and it is time now for department update. Steve Roberge, I believe you're giving the department update.
Yeah, so I'm Steve Roberge. You see me a few times now. I'm the assistant director here at Planning Development Services. So I'll start with talking about our schedule at the Planning Commission. Our next couple of meetings, we're going to be focusing on the wireless code. Our next meeting will probably be wrapping up some of the watershed stuff that we're going to have the hearing on tonight, and then we'll dig into the wireless. That's going to be fun. So hold on. We've also, the governor has rescinded, there was no order on the Open Public Meetings Act, as well as there were some statutory changes that were done last year to that act. And so it may change how we have meetings in June. We're looking at all that stuff right now, and we'll be back to talk to you at our next meeting about what that might look like in June, whether we stay with this approach or whether we how we do that. Anyway, we'll be back in June to talk more after we've seen everything and looked at it. Just a few updates on things that are happening. The council at their last meeting held an advisory public hearing on vacation rentals, and they got quite a bit of feedback from folks. This is something that was started several years ago. I think the Planning Commission provided some recommendations, and it's hasn't moved a long ways. And so they were just picking that back up and seeing where that was. And so they held that Tuesday night. I heard from folks, and so I'm not sure exactly what approach they're going to be taking moving forward, but they had that advisory meeting. They also talked about the Shoreline Amendments. You guys talked about some Shoreline Amendments a while back. There were some minor changes that were proposed to be modified within that amendment based upon some things the staff found, as well as addressing a settlement agreement that the county had entered into having to do with a hearings board appeal. And so that group of changes were brought forward to the council, and that was introduced at their last meeting on Tuesday night also. So with that, unless there are some questions for me, that's what I have for a department report. Oh, and I'll say we're heading into the season, right? This is, people are wanting to get stuff done and do work. So we're seeing definitely an uptick in interest, and permits are starting to come in. So that's good.
Thank you, Steve. I want to note that Commissioner Jefferson is at the meeting. And so now it's time for open session for public comment. That's for comments that are any topic other than what's on the agenda tonight. And Tammy, will you go ahead and take care of that?
Certainly. Welcome to the meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live. The audio is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. Members of the public may watch the meeting or join online or by phone. So I do see that someone has a hand up. My first question is do you have comments for this session, or are you having your hand up for the later part of the public hearing? So I'm going to allow Michael to talk to answer that question, please.
The later part, meaning the revisions to the
Okay.
tree protection plans. Yeah.
All right, we'll call on you later then. Alexander, are you wanting to do this public comment session, or are you waiting for the public hearing?
I'd like to just give a brief public comment now, if that's okay.
Okay, let me give you a couple of instructions, please. So you have virtually raised your hand, so that is good. And we've called on you. So the two things are that you have 3 minutes to speak, and we will have a screen timer that shows when your 3-minute speaking time is up. If you are on a device where you can see the timer, if you're not, we'll let you know when your time is up. So let me just get to the timer, and then we'll have you start on that. One moment, please. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to provide public comment. My name is Alexander Harris. I'm the Land and Water Policy Manager at Resources, a local environmental nonprofit based in Bellingham. Resources is committing to working with community members and local governments to protect and restore the Lake Wacom watershed and enhance the resilience of the watershed to future climate impacts. In 2016, the Lake Wacom TMDL was finalized, and ecology identified the need for greater forest cover across the basin. They explicitly highlighted the importance of increased canopy cover on developed parcels within the watershed. Resources was pleased to see the hard work by county staff and the recent update, the proposed updates in the tree retention requirements for the Lake Wacom Overlay District. Currently, these rules are insufficient to mitigate phosphorus loading effects that are associated with development. And there's broad agreement that greater tree retention and more protective standards will help mitigate future phosphorus loading and also help accomplish the goals identified in the TMDL. The question of how much these rules should be changed remains an open question, and Resources is looking forward to working with staff, Planning Commission, and County Council in the coming weeks to establish reasonable tree retention standards that help preserve canopy cover in the watershed. More specifically, we will provide a written recommendation of a tiered tree retention framework that allows for a greater percentage of tree removal at smaller lots and more restrictive percentages at larger lots. Thank you so much for your work, and thanks for your time.
Is there any other individuals that would like to make a comment during open session for public comment? See no additional hands come up, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Commissioners. Commissioner Hanson.
I'd like to commend the previous speaker for setting us all a fine example of succinct delivery of information.
Any other commissioners wish to speak? Comments? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to approval of minutes for March 24th. I'm sorry, yes, March 24th.
I'll move to accept them, Kelvin.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to accept the minutes. Do we have a second?
I can second it.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, Tammy, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. We're back at the top with Commissioner Bartel,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Desmani.
I have to abstain too.
Okay. Commissioner Hanson.
Hey, I actually was there. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Jefferson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lund,
Yes, and I'm just gonna say we might need a different second.
I agree. If we can jump in on that.
do you want to do a different second first before I continue?
Yes, is someone else like to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you.
So we are at Commissioner Masseri,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Dalen,
Abstain.
Commissioner Barton.
Yes.
Okay, that is 5 yeses, so that carries. Thank you.
So we're at this evening is Cliff Strong. It's the staff member that has prepared our backup for tonight on Wacom County, Lake Wacom Watershed. And Cliff is not able to be here this evening, so Assistant Director Steve Roberge is going to make a presentation. But because we need Cliff's expertise, we look the packet over and have questions of him. We think it's best that we postpone the public, not the public hearing, but postpone the work session until the next meeting so that we can ask questions of him. But we are still going to go ahead and hold the public hearing and let the public tell us what they think and ask questions. So Assistant Director Roberge, would you go ahead and present for us?
Certainly, I think you may have I think Commissioner Lund may have a question for you or want to speak.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Lund, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I have, after we listened to Steve's comments and then the public hearing session, I didn't make the deadline to share out to the panel as the Planning Commission as a whole, but I do have a table that staff has access to and could share that could be a framework for thinking in advance of our future conversation when we pick this back up. So I was just wondering if that could be shared so that commissioners could be prepared to comment on it in the future.
Certainly. So we received comments. I saw some stuff from you as well as from Commissioner Hanson. And we can share those back out with the next packet, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely.
Right. You want us to do that, Commissioner Hanson, with your comments also?
Yes, if it apparently would be timely, so that would be fine.
Okay, we'll do that in the next when we send our packet out for the next commission meeting. We'll include those.
Yeah, we'll see if I amend my amendments in between now and then.
Well, you have that option, right? So I'm just going to give a quick summary of what these amendments are. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but these are proposed amendments to the Lake Wacom Watershed Overlay District, the Water Resource Protection Overlay District, and then other code provisions that are addressing how stormwater manual is referenced and approved for county use. Primarily, these amendments affect the watershed protection overlay districts, which include Lake Wacom, Lake Samish, and Lake Padden. These overlay districts provide additional protections by restricting uses, adding additional development stormwater requirements, and regulating the removal of trees and tree cover, all of which are designed to further protect the lakes and water quality. Many of the proposed amendments are fixes to grammar, code construction, and update or remove outdated titles and codes. There are 5 really proposed policy-related amendments, and those are lowering the threshold on how much new hard surface area is exempt from installing a permanent stormwater management system in the Lake Wacom watershed, reducing the amount of tree canopy that can be removed when not associated with a development activity, adding public stormwater improvement projects to be exempt from installing stormwater management systems in the Lake Wacom Watershed Overlay District, amending the definition of the stormwater manual to allow for future state updates to be approved by the county engineer prior to being effective, and then the deletion of superseded or unused code sections. And that really summarizes what the amendments you have entail. And I'm happy to take general questions, but I really would prefer that we have our subject matter experts here to answer your specific questions if you want to get into too much detail.
Are there questions for Steve? Commissioners have questions? Okay. Let's go on ahead and to the public hearing. So I'm going to open the public hearing.
I think Jim had a question.
Whoops. I'm sorry. Is that Commissioner Desmond?
I was just noticing Jim had his hand up.
He's telling you my hand was up.
Commissioner Hanson, please go ahead.
Sorry, this isn't a question. I just would like to commend staff on the thoroughness of their work on these matters.
Thank you. We've had several staff work on it, Cliff, as well as some of our watershed staff, and they've spent a lot of time working on it. So thank you.
Okay, let's then go ahead with the public hearing. Tammy, would you take over here?
So we still have the same number of attendees. So what I would like to do is, if you would like to provide public comment at this time, please virtually raise your hand to request to speak. Since you're both using the internet, just press that hand icon to raise your hand. And then I'll call upon you by name. And when called on, you can just press the microphone symbol to unmute yourself. You'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the full record and direct all comments to the chair. And the screen timer will show when your time up is nearing. And if it goes over, we will advise you that your time is up. All right, so let me just. Okay, so Michael, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and state your full name, please, for the record.
Hi, I'm Michael Fear, the Executive Director of Wacom Million Trees Project. My message tonight is going to be actually in parallel to the earlier one you heard from Resources, but I thought it'd be good to speak anyways, even if substantive discussion isn't going to occur tonight, but until next month. Tree policies are a central focus for our nonprofit, as is tree planting. So we're following closely these proposed revisions. In our view, county staff have suggested many fine improvements for you to consider. We're very happy about that. We believe that reducing the number of trees that can be removed and increasing the planting of native tree replacements in the watershed when trees do have to be removed are essential steps. They're key ingredients to ensure the long-term quality of our drinking water, plus give our entire community the benefit of greater climate resilience, biodiversity, and health that trees can provide. We're in an unprecedented era now of environmental change that requires urgent action on many fronts, including trees. We have several detailed concerns in what's being proposed, though. For example, concerns about the 3-acre cutoff threshold that is suggested. Concerns about differences in what's allowed or not for tree removal associated with or not associated with development. And concerns about how open space reserve areas are treated, just to name a few. The current numbers and percentages can leave loopholes and inequities between slightly different sized parcels, or conversely, they can overlook easy opportunities to cumulatively create larger watershed improvements. Fortunately, that can be solved with a little more nuance to the math and wording that's proposed. This is the kind of nitty-gritty policy work we are prepared to contribute if given a chance. I look forward in the coming weeks to an opportunity for Wacom Million Trees project to assist county staff to further fine-tune these important draft regulations before your vote occurs. We have considerable expertise to offer that will complement the fine work of others. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. So Laura, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, you can hear me, I assume.
Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Laura Weiss. I live in Bellingham, and I serve on the board of the Wacom Million Trees project. I really appreciate all the great work that staff has done to bring these proposed changes to the commission. And I'm pleased to see proposed rules to better protect trees in the Lake Wacom watershed. As we know, trees provide enormous value for clean water and climate resilience. I also have a few concerns related to the details that I'll mention tonight, even though there's going to be a further work done, it sounds like. I am concerned also with the applying a 3-acre cutoff for tree cutting allowances could create a somewhat unfair system whereby, for example, a homeowner with 1 acre would be allowed to cut down as much as 15,000 square feet of tree canopy, but another homeowner with 5 acres could only remove 5,000 square feet of tree canopy. Instead, I would recommend that you consider an approach that allows for perhaps 10% of the canopy to be cut, unless the property is less than maybe a half an acre, in which case greater allowances should probably be considered. In addition, I believe that the rules for tree removal associated with development should also be strengthened for this overlay update, as staff actually did indicate could be advisable in their memo. Otherwise, the rules for tree removal associated with development will continue to be too lenient and not as protective of water quality as we really need. For example, the current rule allows an owner of a 5-acre lot to cut as much as 1.75 acres of canopy in order to develop, which seems like a very unnecessarily large in most cases. There's currently about 500 vacant parcels in the rural watershed outside of Sudden Valley that are zoned 5 acres and could still be developed. If we assume that all of these 2,500 acres are currently covered in tree canopy, then the way the current rules are written, it means that in the next few years, we could be losing up to 875 acres of tree canopy in the watershed due to development. Of course, if we change these to allow for up to 10% of tree canopy to be cut on parcels of 5 acres or larger, then we could theoretically save over 600 acres of forested land in our watershed. I hope these comments are helpful and that the commission will ask staff to make some adjustments before these new rules are adopted. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. There are no other attendees.
Okay. Since there are no other attendees, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And as we're postponing our work session, is there any unfinished business the commissioners wish to bring forward? Seeing no other unfinished business, then I am going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Good night, everyone.
Attendees, we appreciate your comments.
Surprise evening off. Thanks, everybody. We're really gonna get it next time.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Bye.